Welcome to Motivational Moment TV. Today, we begin a journey not outward into the world, but inward, into the very architecture of your own mind. We live in an age of unprecedented noise. A constant, relentless cascade of information, opinions, and directives floods our senses from the moment we wake until the moment we sleep. Our screens glow with the thoughts of others. Our conversations echo with recycled ideas. And the path of least resistance is to simply nod, to agree, to float along in the vast, comfortable current of the collective. But in this current, do we ever stop to ask where it's taking us? Or more importantly, is it taking us where we truly want to go? So let me ask you a dangerous question. A question that might feel unsettling, but one that holds the key to a more authentic and powerful life. How many of your beliefs are truly yours? I don't mean the beliefs you like, or the ones that serve you well in your social circles. I mean the foundational convictions that guide your decisions, shape your character, and define your reality. How many of them were consciously chosen, forged in the fires of your own critical thought and personal experience? And how many were simply acquired, not inherited? Think of the cultural and familial axioms you received as a child, the truths handed down like heirlooms, accepted long before you had the tools to examine them. They form the very bedrock of your identity, yet you did not lay the foundation, not absorbed. Consider the ideas you soaked in through osmosis from your environment, your schools, your workplaces, the media you consume. These are the subtle assumptions that permeate the air, the common sense of your tribe that you breathe in without even noticing, not repeated because everyone else agrees. This is perhaps the most seductive form of intellectual borrowing. The comfort of consensus, the safety of the majority. When an idea is echoed by millions of voices, it feels true, it feels right. But popularity is not a measure of truth. I am asking about the beliefs that were deliberately chosen, the ones you wrestled with, questioned, and perhaps even fought for, the ones that remain after you have stripped away the layers of external influence. What is left? Is there a core that is undeniably, authentically you? Over a century ago, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche diagnosed this condition with unnerving clarity. He argued that one of the greatest threats to human greatness was not external oppression like tyranny. It was not material hardship like poverty. It was not even the inevitable reality of suffering. No, the greatest threat, he proposed, was something far more pleasant. It was the comfort of belonging. He warned that most people do not live their own lives. They live a kind of second-hand existence. They are curators of a life assembled from borrowed parts. They borrow opinions from the loudest voices on their news feeds. They borrow morals from ancient texts they haven't personally interrogated. They borrow ambitions from societal scorecards that define success as a bigger house, a faster car, a more prestigious title. And then, after assembling this collage of conformity, they stand back, admire their work, and call it normal. They call it a good life. Nietzsche called it the herd instinct, a deep-seated psychological drive to think, feel, and act like those around us to ensure our survival and acceptance within the group. This instinct is not inherently evil. It is a relic of our evolutionary past, a time when straying from the tribe meant certain death. But in the modern world, this same instinct can lead to a different kind of death, the death of the individual spirit. This is why Nietzsche did not fear solitude. He saw it as the workshop of the soul, the necessary space for self-creation. He feared crowds, not the physical gathering of people, but the psychological entity of the crowd, the group mind that subsumes individual thought. Because crowds possess a dangerous alchemy. They can transform obedience into a virtue, making it feel noble to surrender your own judgment. They can make conformity feel like safety, rewarding you with acceptance for erasing your own unique edges. In the warmth of the herd, the chill of independent thought feels like a threat. So let me be clear. Today, we are not talking about rebellion for the sake of rebellion. This is not a call for contrarianism, for disagreeing simply to be different. That is just another form of being controlled by the crowd, just in opposition. We are not talking about rebellion for attention. We are talking about something quieter, deeper, and infinitely more powerful. We are talking about the courage to stand alone in your own mind, the strength to build your own framework of values, to arrive at your own conclusions, even if they place you in a minority of one. This is the path of the true individual, and it is a path that has defined every great leap forward in human history. Because every breakthrough thinker who shattered a scientific paradigm, every innovator who built a world-changing technology, every leader who guided humanity toward a more just future, every creator who gifted us a timeless work of art, was first misunderstood. They were dismissed. They were ridiculed. They were called heretics, fools, or dreamers. Their crime was daring to see the world through their own eyes, rather than through the prescribed lens of their time. So I invite you to stay with me on this exploration. This journey is not about embracing isolation. It is not about cutting yourself off from the world. It is about fundamentally changing your relationship with it. This is about independence of mind. It is about learning to be in the world, but not entirely of it. It is about building an inner citadel, a place of mental sovereignty where your own thoughts, values, and principles are the reigning authority. It is about developing the skill to listen to the crowd, to learn from it, to engage with it, but to never, ever let it have the final vote on who you are. In the chapters that follow, we will move from the philosophical to the practical. We will dissect the mechanics of the herd instinct and learn to recognize its pull in our daily lives. We will study the lives of those who mastered the art of solitude and self-trust. And most importantly, we will equip you with concrete tools and strategies to begin the difficult, rewarding work of thinking for yourself. This is the first step toward a life that is not borrowed, but built. There is a fundamental tension at the core of the human experience, a quiet, persistent conflict between two of our deepest needs, the need for truth and the need for belonging. We are born with an innate curiosity, a drive to understand the world as it is. But we are also born into a world of others, a social fabric that offers us safety, identity, and connection. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche observed something uncomfortable about how we navigate this tension. That for most of us, most of the time, the desire for belonging will eclipse the desire for truth. He gave this powerful, often unconscious force a name, the herd instinct. This isn't a judgment, but an observation about our nature. It's a survival mechanism, honed over millennia. In our evolutionary past, being cast out from the tribe was a death sentence. To belong was to survive, and the price of belonging was conformity. Today, the stakes may seem lower, but the instinct remains just as potent, shaping our lives in ways we rarely stop to examine. The herd operates on a simple, unspoken contract. It rewards sameness. It punishes difference. It mistrusts originality. Its primary function is to maintain stability, to preserve the status quo, because the known is always safer than the unknown. It establishes a baseline of acceptable behavior, thought, and expression. Adherence is rewarded with inclusion, a sense of security, and the quiet comfort of being one of many. Deviation, on the other hand, is met with subtle and sometimes overt forms of correction. It might be a dismissive comment, a questioning look, or the cold silence of being excluded. The herd doesn't need walls or guards. Its enforcement is psychological, woven into the very fabric of our social interactions. This instinct manifests everywhere in modern life. Consider the digital town square of social media. Here, the herd instinct is amplified by algorithms. We see ideas gain momentum not necessarily because they are true or nuanced, but because they are popular. A chorus of likes, shares, and agreeable comments creates a powerful illusion of consensus. To post a dissenting opinion is to risk a digital storm, to be labeled, dismissed, or dogpiled. The psychological cost of standing apart is immediate and visible. So, we self-censor. We share the popular article without reading it. We like the sentiment we know is safe. We perform our belonging. Or think of the corporate world. How many truly innovative ideas have died in a conference room, not because they lacked merit, but because they were too different? The unspoken pressure to align with the group's direction, to support the manager's pet project, or to simply avoid making waves can be immense. The herd says, don't stand out, don't question, don't rock the boat. And most people obey, not because they have critically examined the prevailing opinion and found it to be sound, not because they genuinely agree with the consensus. They obey because they are afraid of judgment, afraid of ridicule, afraid of being misunderstood. But most of all, they are afraid of the profound, primal terror of being utterly alone. This fear is the invisible shepherd of the herd. It keeps us in line, walking in step, even when our own inner compass points in a different direction. We trade a piece of our autonomy for the warmth of the collective, often without even realizing we've made the transaction. Nietzsche believed this instinct leads to what he called a herd morality. It's a system of ethics built not on first principles or individual conscience, but on social convenience. The herd creates moral shortcuts. In this system, good becomes synonymous with what is approved by the group. It is what is safe, what is traditional, what is useful for the collective's cohesion. Bad becomes what is condemned by the group. It is the unfamiliar, the disruptive, the individualistic. The judgment is not based on an action's intrinsic virtue or harm, but on its popularity. Truth is replaced by consensus. Right is replaced by popular. This creates a fragile morality, one that can shift with the tides of public opinion. It absolves the individual of the difficult work of moral reasoning. Why wrestle with complex ethical dilemmas when you can simply adopt the position of your chosen group? The herd offers a prepackaged set of values, a simple guide to navigating the world. But the cost is your moral sovereignty. So, let's make this personal. This isn't just a philosophical abstraction, it's a daily reality. Ask yourself honestly, how often have you silenced a thought because it might cost you approval? Think of a time you were in a conversation and held back a question you felt was stupid, only to hear someone else ask it to nods of agreement. Think of a piece of art, music, or film you privately disliked, but praised because it was critically acclaimed. Think of a political or social view you softened or concealed to avoid an argument with family or friends. That moment of hesitation, that quick calculation of social risk, that is the herd instinct at work. It's the internal governor, prioritizing acceptance over authenticity. How many of your opinions are truly your own, forged in the fire of your own experience and critical thought? And how many are borrowed, rented from the group to which you belong? Be gentle with yourself, but be honest. Acknowledging this instinct is the first step toward transcending it. It is crucial to understand that the herd is not inherently evil. It provides a sense of community, of shared identity, which are vital human needs. It can be a source of immense comfort and support, but it is, by its very nature, limiting. It is a force of conservation, not creation. The herd maintains. It does not invent. It polishes. It does not discover. Every significant step forward in human history, in science, in art, in ethics, in philosophy, was not the result of a committee vote or a popular consensus. Progress has never been voted into existence. It has always begun with dissent. It began when one person dared to look at the world and say, "But what if it isn't flat?" It began when someone dared to paint in a way no one had ever seen before. It began when someone dared to argue that the prevailing moral code was unjust. Progress begins at the edge of the herd, with the individual who is willing to withstand the discomfort of being different in service of a deeper truth. Nietzsche understood resentment deeply. When people cannot rise, they try to reduce. When they cannot create, they criticize. When they cannot lead, they moralize. This is how resentment disguises itself as virtue. Instead of saying, "I lack the courage to do that," the resentful say, "That is wrong. That is dangerous. That is immoral." Nietzsche warned that society often attacks strength, not because strength is cruel, but because it exposes weakness. If you think differently, expect resistance. If you aim higher, expect ridicule. If you refuse to conform, expect moral pressure. This is not a sign you are wrong. It may be a sign you are early. Nietzsche believed solitude was essential, not loneliness, but chosen isolation. Solitude is where borrowed opinions dissolve, where noise fades, where you hear your own thinking. The crowd shouts, solitude whispers, but in that whisper, you meet yourself. Nietzsche warned, "He who cannot stand solitude will never know his own depth." If you are always surrounded, always distracted, always entertained, you may be avoiding yourself. Greatness requires periods of separation, from noise, from approval, from consensus. This is not withdrawal, it is preparation. Nietzsche believed self-trust was rare. Most people outsource certainty. They ask, "What do others think? What is acceptable? What will be approved?" Self-trust is dangerous because it removes excuses. When you trust yourself, you can no longer hide behind tradition. You can no longer blame society. You can no longer claim ignorance. You must own your choices. Nietzsche did not promise comfort. He promised responsibility. Self-trust means you choose your values. You accept the consequences. You refine through experience, not perfection, progress. Nietzsche believed comfort dulls courage. A comfortable life avoids risk, avoids tension, avoids conflict. But courage requires friction. Courage is not loud. It is quiet consistency. The willingness to stand by a conviction even when applause disappears. Every time you choose courage over comfort, you strengthen your character. Every time you compromise to be liked, you weaken it. This is not about arrogance. It is about alignment. Living in alignment is harder than fitting in, but it is the only path to integrity. Nietzsche believed true authority is internal, not status, not titles, not validation. Inner authority is knowing, I stand by my judgment. This does not mean you stop learning. It means you stop surrendering. Strong individuals listen deeply, but decide independently. They are open, but not malleable. This is the foundation of leadership, in life, in business, in character. We've reached the end of our journey together, but the beginning of yours. Let's be clear, standing alone has a cost. It is not a path of ease, it is a path of resistance. You will face misunderstanding from those who cannot comprehend a life lived outside the lines. You will feel the sharp sting of isolation when the crowd you once belonged to turns its back. And you will wrestle with doubt, that insidious whisper in the quiet moments, asking if you've made a colossal mistake. These are the tolls you must be willing to pay. But conformity has a far higher and more permanent price. It is a slow, silent erosion of the self. It costs you your edge, that unique perspective, that spark of unconventional insight that only you possess. It costs you your originality, trading your authentic voice for a hollow echo of the majority. And ultimately, it costs you your destiny. The grand, unwritten story of your potential is sacrificed for the small, predictable script of acceptance. You become a ghost in your own life, haunting the edges of what could have been. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche understood this profound trade-off. He believed that the individual must be strong enough to walk without applause, to find validation not in the roar of the crowd, but in the quiet integrity of their own footsteps. This isn't a call to arrogance, but a summons to inner authority. It is the practice of becoming your own North Star, your own source of approval. So as we conclude, I want you to ask yourself a question, and I want you to answer it with unflinching honesty. Not for me, not for anyone else, but for the person you see in the mirror every morning. Are you truly living your own life, or are you merely rehearsing someone else's? Are your goals your own, born from your deepest values, or are they borrowed from society's catalog of success? Is your happiness contingent on external validation, or is it cultivated from within? This is the fundamental choice, because the future does not belong to the obedient. The obedient maintain the present. They polish the statues of the past, but they do not build what comes next. The future belongs to the courageous. It belongs to the artists who dare to paint a world no one has seen, the scientists who question established truths, the entrepreneurs who build solutions to problems others accept as permanent. It belongs to the quiet rebels in everyday life who choose kindness over cynicism, integrity over convenience, and growth over comfort. Here on Motivational Moment TV, we are dedicated to this principle. We do not follow the crowd because the crowd is a lagging indicator of truth. Instead, we learn to think. We dissect our assumptions, we question our programming, and we seek wisdom over information. We learn to choose. We weigh our options not against the scale of public opinion, but against the compass of our own conscience. And when our thinking is clear and our choice is made, we learn to stand. We stand in our convictions, not with aggression, but with a calm, unshakable resolve. This is your call to action. Your challenge for the week ahead is simple, yet profound. Identify one small area where you have been conforming out of fear or habit. It could be agreeing with an opinion you don't share, or silencing a creative idea at work. This week, choose to act differently. Voice your perspective respectfully. Take the first step on that personal project. Reclaim that small piece of your sovereignty. This is how the muscle of courage is built, not in one grand gesture, but in 1,000 small acts of self-fidelity. Like this video if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who is walking their own path. And subscribe to join a community committed to this journey. Because independence of mind is not just a philosophical ideal. It is the first